We're going to talk about ginseng, a little bit about the history, but we're going to start by talking about how to identify ginseng, because it looks like a lot of other plants.
Ginseng is distinctive because its first year, it looks like a strawberry plant, okay? It has 3 leaves only, and it looks just like a strawberry plant. The second year and onward, it will have 3 big leaves and 2 little leaves. There are many plants in the woods that have 5 leaves. Virginia creeper commonly has 5 leaves. Buckeye plants have 5 leaves, but they're all the same size. It's not 3 big, 2 little. That's your tell. With the first year ginseng, where it only has 3 leaves, it's easily confused with another fine product of our woods, poison ivy. So, leaves of 3, let it be. And that goes for ginseng the first year too. Don't mess with it. Let it go. You don't need to touch it. You're not going to harvest ginseng for at least 7 years in the state of Ohio. It has to be 7 years old before you can legally harvest it. That's wild ginseng, wild simulated ginseng, cultivated ginseng, 7 years for everything. How can you tell that it's 7 years old? On the stem, as it sticks up, it gets a little notch. It gets a little growth, a ring, for each year that it ages. That's when you harvest ginseng that's wild, you count the rings to tell if it's legal to harvest. If you take 6-year-old ginseng to a ginseng dealer, he's not going to buy it from you because it's what? Illegal. Okay. Secondly, that plant needs to develop more. It's not fully reached maturity. It doesn't have all the ginseng enzymes that it needs to have to be fully enjoy its medicinal properties. As we look down through here, you'll be able to see how the ginseng is planted here. If you recall back looking at the Solomon seal, you can see how the Solomon seal had a lot of weeds in with it. As you look across here, you'll see that there are very few other plants mixed in with this ginseng. The reason for that is this is about 90% shade. How do you tell what 90% shade is? Take 10 pieces of paper out, lay them down, and count how many actually have sunlight on them. That's a very easy way. There's an expensive way, which is buying a shade measuring device, but you know, we're doing this, low tech and low budget. When you look here, you'll be able to see right down through here that this is one of the small trenches that I've dug to separate the ginseng beds. When you go in here, you want to walk in these trenches so that you're not standing on the roots, because that will traumatize the ginseng. And when it's traumatized, she no grow so good. When we look over here at the ginseng, here's a typical ginseng plant. 2 small leaves, 3 large leaves. Virginia creeper.
This right here.
Yep, there is Virginia creeper right over here.
So you've got 5 leaflets.
5 equal sized leaves.
And they're serrated edges too. Like deeply serrated. Whereas the ginseng?
That is ginseng. Yep.
3 big leaves, 2 little leaves. All the leaflets are coming to one point, just like Virginia creeper, but this Virginia creeper, all the leaflets are similar size, whereas right here, you've got 2 little ones and 3 big ones. And the teeth on the leaf aren't as prominent.
So let's talk a little bit about the history of ginseng before we get going. Ginseng's been used as a medicinal herb by the Chinese for literally thousands of years. They claim it has a host of properties, and they value it very strongly. If wet ginseng, the primary market is Korea. Dried roots, the primary market is China. Ginseng prices fluctuate a lot each year. Last year they were running between $700 and $750 a pound, so very valued. And that's the wholesale wholesale price that you're getting paid to deliver it to the middleman. By the time it gets to China or Korea, that price is significantly higher. Ginseng played a major part in the American Revolution. The Yankee clipper ships carried silver and ginseng to the Far East and brought silks and tea back. Daniel Boone, Davy Crockett both made their original fortunes in the ginseng market. Ginseng was all wild ginseng in those days. In the late 1800s, folks up in Wisconsin figured out how to actually cultivate ginseng. They put posts out in the field, stretch shade cloth across the top to get the correct amount of shade, and plant ginseng. Ginseng needs to grow at least 7 years before you harvest it. Now, when you grow it out in the field under shade cloth and fertilize it and till the soil, it comes out looking like big carrots, okay? It does not look at all like wild ginseng, but this is what is ground up and used in the products sold at Walmart and CVS and so forth. That ginseng, cultivated ginseng, goes for $20 a pound, okay? Big difference from $700 for wild. So wild ginseng and wild simulated ginseng enjoys the same environment. They have to compete against weeds, stones, other plants. They don't get any special help from fertilizers, from tilling the soil. And so the roots come out looking very gnarly and twisted. And that's a very distinctive feature that allows you to distinguish between the two methods of raising ginseng. There's a cross method in there called woods cultivated that's not used very much. And that's where they go out in the woods, till the soil, probably use a little bit of fertilizer, possibly some gypsum, and that doesn't look as carroty as field-grown ginseng, but it doesn't look as gnarly as wild or wild simulated ginseng. And the price for that is somewhere in the middle of the two, maybe $50 to $100 a pound. Very small market. There are two main ways to plant ginseng. The first would be actually transplanting plants. You can buy ginseng plants online from a variety of sources and actually transplant plants just like you would getting a plant in a nursery. The second way is to transplant ginseng seeds. Ginseng seeds are taken from the ginseng berries. If you have ginseng berries and they're from a wild plant, they're supposed to be planted within 50 feet of where you harvested that wild plant. If you have wild simulated ginseng, then you can manipulate and process those berries and replant them on your own property in a more efficient manner. The way that you do that is you clean the pulp off, clean the seeds inside the pulp. You stratify them over the winter because they have to overwinter before you can plant them. Then plant them the following fall. They'll come up again the following spring. So it's a lengthy process. Might explain why not so many people are actively engaged in it, because a lot of folks don't have the patience for this. Fortunately, you can buy seeds online, eBay, or a number of different farmers like Sue's ginseng or Ming's ginseng up in Wisconsin. There's a lot of folks that have been producing ginseng for literally generations, like Harding's Ginseng Farm over in Maryland, and they're happy to sell you the seeds and get you started. As you can see by looking over here, you see that there aren't a lot of competing plants, and that is because we've got 90% shade. Most of the other plants can't grow in 90% shade. The ginseng plants aren't spreading, okay? Ginseng is not a community plant. If you plant a plant here and a plant there, those are the two plants that you're going to have. They're not going to spread out and be in the middle. They may seed over time and get an extra plant in there, but it's not common. Going back to what I mentioned about cultivated ginseng under shade cloth, what the folks discovered as they started to cultivate this product was that the fields didn't produce the second time that they tried to plant in the same area. And for unknown reasons, you can't plant ginseng twice in the same spot, okay? So you plant ginseng, raise it for 7 to 10 years, harvest it, and now you need to plant something else there. You can plant golden seal, cohosh, Solomon seal, whatever you want to plant, but you can't plant ginseng twice in the same area. It just doesn't thrive. People have been working on trying to figure out why. If you can figure out why, you can make a lot of money by sharing that information, folks. So when you're digging up ginseng, you go through differently than when you're digging up cohosh and golden seal. When you're digging up cohosh and golden seal, you can go in and just be kind of aggressive about it. Dig it up, shake it out, don't worry about it. But ginseng is delicate, and when you dig up the roots, you have to be very careful not to break them. A broken root loses value, and you have to be very careful to make sure that all the rings are visible on the top of the root. The biggest roots are prized over in the Orient, and they're not actually consumed. What they do is they'll take a root with maybe 50 rings, 50 years old, and it'll be very beautifully pressed in a picture frame, and folks will take it, buy it, and present it to their boss as a present, okay? So it is a gift of honor. I'm giving you a 50-year-old ginseng plant. Thing to keep in mind is, while you can harvest after 7 to 10 years, the longer you leave your ginseng in the ground, the more it's worth. It's like money in the bank, gaining interest every year. The flip side of that is, ginseng is a plant. If you look at corn farmers spend a lot of time prepping the field, making sure that the weeds are knocked down, harvesting efficiently, precision farming. They have to keep that corn alive for 140 days. Ginseng, you have to keep alive for 7 years. So if you lose 2% of what you plant each year, that's cumulative. What fraction do you have at the end of 7 years? You've lost a reasonable chunk of your initial planting. So it makes sense to be prudent, to plant larger areas so that you have greater opportunity to harvest ultimately. And remember, you can leave it in the ground. There's nothing wrong with that. When you harvest ginseng, people normally clean pick it. They don't leave ginseng behind. They clean a particular area out. This is only for cultivated ginseng. Wild ginseng, you always leave old ginseng there. Don't harvest more than, off the top of my head, I think it's, don't harvest more than an eighth or a quarter of the plants that you come across, because you need to leave ginseng there for later. What damaged the wild populations of ginseng in the United States was the Great Depression. During the Great Depression, folks were desperate for money, and they went out and just clean picked the hillsides of Appalachia. And here we are, coming up on 90 plus years later, and they're finally starting to recover. Still a slow process. We need to take care, be good stewards of the land, and not overpick the products that we've got out there.